Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Janex.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you this morning?
Good.
Hope you had a great weekend. Good morning, Tundu Abiola.
Good morning, sweetie.
How are you this morning?
Great.
Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, Oji. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Good.
Well, good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. In the United States, President Joe Biden on Sunday cited the Buffalo shootings in calling for national unity at a Capitol ceremony where he honored law enforcement officers who died in the line of duty in 2021. Biden used his remarks to decry what the Justice Department has labeled as a hate crime, a racially motivated act of white supremacy and violent extremism.
We must all work together to address the hate that remains a stain on the soul of America. The hearts are heavy once again, but a resolve must never ever waver.
In the United Arab Emirates, an array of presidents and prime ministers arrived the country on Sunday to pay their respects to Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the country's long-ailing ruler, who died on Friday, May 13th, at the age of 73. French President Emmanuel Macron expressed full support for the ascension of his half-brother, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed, after rulers in the Federation unanimously appointed him as president. In Nigeria, tributes continue to pour in for Deborah Samuel, a 22-year-old student of Shehu Shagari College of Education in Sokoto State, who was brutally murdered and set ablaze by a mob over comments considered to be an insult to Prophet Mohammed, as her remains were laid to rest over the weekend in Niger State. Under sports, tennis champion Novak Djokovic on Sunday won his first title of the year at the Italian Open in Rome. Djokovic beat Stefanos Tsitsipas to take the clay court title. The 34-year-old Serbian secured a sixth title in Rome and his 38th win in a Masters event, boosting his preparation for next week's French Open, which starts on May 22nd in Paris. And Super Falcons striker Asisat Oshoala has become a joint top scorer in the women's Spanish Primera Division. The 27-year-old achieved the feat despite missing 3 months of the season due to recurring injuries. Asisat scored 20 goals in 19 league appearances for Barcelona Femení and is now the first African woman to win the highest goal scorer gong in the Spanish Primera Division since it began in 2011. Finally, under entertainment, Rattlesnake, the Ahana story, won 5 trophies at the 2022 edition of the African Magic Viewers' Choice Awards, which took place over the weekend. The movie is a remake of the 1995 action classic thriller, Rattlesnake, directed by the late Nigerian filmmaker Amaka Igwe. Ace actor and director Ramsey Noah took home the trophy for Best Director, while Stan Nze and Osas Ighodaro clinched the trophy for Best Actor and Actress in the drama category.
Thank you so much. God bless you guys. I dedicate this award to my mommy in heaven. She was with me when I was working on this project, and she passed away right before we started to do the premiere for this film. AMVCA, God bless you. I love you all. God bless you. Thank you.
To the Almighty God, my daddy for giving me talent to share with the world. You might be looking at me from home and you're wondering, when would it be my turn? The thoughts he has for us are of good and not of evil, to give us an expected end. Thank you to my lovely wife for standing by me.
No, congratulations to them all. Let's begin what's trending. The parents of Deborah Samuel, the 22-year-old student of Shehu Shagari College of Education in Sokoto State, who was set ablaze by a mob over comments considered to be an insult to Prophet Mohammed, have opened up about their grief in the gruesome murder of their daughter. Emmanuel Garba, Deborah's father, in a recent interview said his family is saddened by their daughter's killing and that they have taken her death as an act of God, adding that nothing could be done about the situation Alheri Emmanuel, Deborah's mother, revealed that she was the second child out of 7 children and that her tuition was expensive, adding that as a result of the incident, their family have decided to send their other children to less expensive schools. Deborah's mother further stated that she has now committed her heart to God for strengthening. Deborah was laid to rest on Saturday, May 14th, in their hometown in Niger State. Tunde Abiola, this story all weekend, I have been basically traumatized over this story. Apparently, the parents had to travel to Sokoto State to, recover the remains of their daughter. They had to pay all that money. And I think that they had some, issues retrieving her body from the government. And they're saying that, it was quite difficult for them to do so. Her mother was in coma for days after she heard the story of her daughter's death. May her soul rest in peace. I am so destroyed by her story, Tundu.
It's the worst thing. I mean, nobody deserves what happened to Deborah. No family deserves this. The only good thing I could say for Deborah is that she's in a much better place than this, because it really does not get worse than what we're dealing with. She made what to me is quite innocuous, just a general comment about a WhatsApp group. That's what's been reported. And next thing, she's murdered in cold blood for it. And I assume, based on previous incidents that have happened like this, that some of her killers might not even have known exactly what she said. It's just Chinese whispers and rumor mongering, lies, fabrication, slander that got this young woman killed. And that is just a tragedy and really a lesson for us all. Yes. Because while we're sitting here, pointing fingers at, the monsters who murdered this young woman, there's some of us that also display similar behavior, obviously to a far lesser degree. But there's social media lynch mobs. Yes. People call people to abuse people. Yes. You drive people into depression with your behavior. So everybody does need to just be that much more cautious about lying on people, for starters, about creating a sort of a vicious atmosphere and a lynch mob, a cyber lynch mob for somebody, because it's easy to say, oh, why did they do that? People do this all the time in different ways. You don't know what effect you have on other people. With regards to the way the Sokoto state government has handled this, it smacks of insensitivity as far as I'm concerned. There was a problem, like you said, there was a challenge with her father retrieving her corpse. Why should any father retrieve his child's corpse in the first case? No parent should bury their child. Yes. And there was a problem because I imagine that the problem might have been related to perhaps an autopsy, but it does not appear that that was properly and satisfactorily explained to Deborah's father, and who deserves a more detailed explanation than him. Absolutely. I don't like the way he was handled. No. And I don't see why the state could not pay all her funeral expenses. I think it's the very least they could have done. Or even the school. I don't think that this should really be happening. And now it has a knock-on effect on generations of that family. Now that the parents have, in their grief, said that they're not going to educate their children to the level that Deborah was educated, to the kind of investment that they made. Look at what they got as a return on their investment. So that's generations of her family. Look at her parents. It's devastating.
I appreciate the outpouring of support from a lot of Nigerians, including President Muhammadu Buhari, condemning this act. Her last words, as they say, was that she was asking the mob that attacked her, what do you tend to achieve from this, Rufai?
I don't know the answer to that question, but it's very sad that the future of this country was lynched in broad daylight because the country failed its people. And that's a good question. What do they intend to achieve? Now they've killed Deborah. And I asked across board, what did she say or really do? We've had one account of the story. I'll still investigate more and hear many different accounts. But whatever she said, is it worth her life? That's the question we should ask ourselves. And what does the Constitution that binds all of us say about killing? And that's why I'm sad about the fact that the perpetrators of people that have killed other people, heinous crimes like this, have not been brought to book. And that's why I keep talking about the case of Eunice Olawale Bridget, Gideon Akaluka. The case goes on and on and on in this country. And that's why we keep calling on the state. It's not enough for the presidency to condemn what has happened. Condemnation is easy. Anyway, it's not easy for some people. But What is most important is that justice is done. You see, what causes things like this is when people see justice is not done, it gives them the impetus to perpetrate. I will never kill anybody despite any provocation because I know there are laws in the land. So anybody that kills somebody and thinks he can get away with it, then there's something wrong with the state. It's as simple as that. And this is not the time to be protesting in support of people that have been arrested for perpetrating such heinous crimes. And this continues because I was just telling you about anytime some people that ride rickshaws hit you or something, just move on. Because you see, those group of boys think that if they hurt you, they'll be the one at fault. They'll be the one to hit you. But if they hurt you, they will go scot-free with it and nothing will be done. And they've gone into the stage. They've bashed my car so many times in Lagos, and I just keep moving. Because, you know, if you stop and you try to engage with them, before you know it, they call the rest of them, and they come, and they attack you. Right. So I'm not surprised about what happened to the sound engineer in Lekki.
That happens.
Because it's the norm, and that's what we should stop in this society. So this is bad, this is heinous. And you were talking about people that attack people online. I just hope they realize that there's nothing they gain from it. Honestly, I can say I've been one of the most attacked people online in this country just because I...
Really?
My God. People are paid to troll me in this country. I know all of them. I've seen all of them, but I don't care. It won't stop me from telling the truth.
In another development, a pregnant woman who was kidnapped by terrorists from the ill-fated Abuja Kaduna train on March 28th has regained her freedom. In an exclusive video by Daily Nigerian, the woman called on the federal government to negotiate with the terrorists peacefully and accede to their demands so that the passengers still held in captivity will be released the way she was peacefully released and now reunited with her family. It is reported that the pregnant woman was released on compassionate grounds by the group suspected to be the Asaru Islamic sect, a breakaway faction of the Boko Haram sect. The pregnant woman is the third abductee to be released by the terrorists. Dr. Bati, I'd love for you to juxtapose both stories.
Okay, let me start with the first one. In addition to some of the comments I made earlier on this, I think one, that family needs help.
Yes.
And that help should come from the relevant authorities, the Sokoto state government, and also the Niger state government, and even the federal government and other well-wishers. Now, the parents are saying that other children will not go to school because they don't want to expose them to the risk of blasphemy. In other words, they are in a state of utter shock.
Yes.
And if that is the case, it will mean because of this killing of their sister, then the future of the other children within that family will be derailed. The Sokoto state government, we were told, did not even make a phone call to the family. Now, who is it, whose duty should that have been? And who is that person who did not make, that contact? And then the man, the father, went to Sokoto. Most of the drivers he approached, nobody wanted to transport the remains of Deborah. Only one driver eventually agreed, and that driver charged a sum of 120,000 naira, which he said he paid. So beyond whatever, support that can be given, I think that family also needs counseling to help them go through their grief. People, experience grief in many ways. Some people can even give up and resign themselves to fate.
Yes.
As they seem to have done.
Both of them.
They say it's an act of God, right? But we know that it was certain individuals who killed their daughter. And there are videos, open videos, in which, some of the persons, identified themselves. And there was one of the assailants who was saying that he was the one that killed her. And he was even brandishing the box of matches. And said, I killed her and I burnt her. Should such a person go free? And the bigger question that we should keep asking is, how did we get here in Nigeria? That human lives mean nothing, and people can kill and just get away, and everybody is against the other person. There's no harmony. There's no unity. It's not about religion. Okay? It's beyond religion. Because even when religion is not the issue, people have just become so choleric. The environment is so toxic. Well, it's unfortunate. Now, as to the pregnant woman who was released, there were 2 pregnant women who were, abducted along with others in that March 28 Kaduna Abuja train incident. One of the women was 8 months pregnant, had given birth. Now, I'm surprised that she and the baby were also not released.
They weren't, yeah.
But this, the other pregnant woman has been released. I think what we would like is a situation whereby everybody is released, because there are children there, there are sick persons there, there are persons who are on medication who do not have access to medication. This is about the 3rd person that the terrorists have released. Now, Nigeria cannot be depending on the magnanimity of criminals, of terrorists, because some people will say, well, maybe they will release them one after the other. We need the government, to take steps. And that was the message of this pregnant woman who was released. However, I thought I sensed something that sounded like this Stockholm syndrome in her statements. Because she was quoted in the papers as saying they were very nice to us for having mercy on me. The Nigerian government should go and negotiate and give them what they want, so that others can be released. That they treated us very well. They fed us well. That would be an indication of a Stockholm syndrome, whereby a victim begins to identify with the oppressor. But I hope my reading is wrong. What is important is that every step should be taken to get those who are still in captivity out, whether young or old, sick or fit. And of course, the pregnant woman also needs help, counseling. I don't know whether we have structures for counseling in this country.
Absolutely. We'll take another story. With reactions trailing the submission of the expression of interest and presidential nomination forms of Akinwumi Adesina, the president of the African Development Bank, the forms were reportedly submitted to the All Progressives Congress on May 14th, although the AFDB president is yet to declare his interest to run for the highest office of the land. Many Nigerians have taken to social media to question the morality of his alleged interest in the presidential race. Last week, a coalition made up of 28 groups bought the forms for Adesina worth 100 million naira. Well, let's take a tweet from Tunipa, who wrote, "Why is Akinwumi Adesina hiding around the corners? He has bought and submitted his presidential form and has been cleared by the APC, but he hasn't come out to say anything about his ambition." President of the African Development Bank that is supposed to be non-partisan, like the CBN governor. Tundu, I'm coming over to you on the story. I don't know if you're very familiar with the rules of the bank, the African Development Bank, but he is supposed to resign his position before he even goes ahead with the form. Submission of a form, how does that work? Do you not require your signature before the form is submitted?
I hate repeating myself, and I assure you I only do that on this show. In my personal life, I never do. But let us ban proxies, ban them all, ban them. No, it bears repeating endlessly until it actually happens. This is the kind of farce that we are subjected to when we have all these cloak and dagger machinations and we're wondering, will he or won't we? This is really unfortunate. We're talking about democracy. It is not one, quadrennial exercise where 30% of the voting population troop out one day and, cast their ballot. No, democracy is a process. It's every day in the life of a nation. And it involves transparency. All these games are really most unbefitting. He needs to come out. And at this point, I can surmise that silence is acquiescence because he has said nout. Yes. It has literally been radio silence on this score. I know you know him. I know you do, Dr. Abati. And I know you reached out, and he's sort of evading the issue. Why on earth would you be evasive? Why on earth is somebody who is interested in being president of a country ever be evasive? And for me, he's established such credibility over the years, such a sterling reputation in terms of performance, in terms of character, competence, the whole gamut. This actually is a stain on him. The longer this silence continues, the worse it is for his hard-won reputation.
Yeah, it is so unfortunate. Everyone is basically making fun of the APC. I want to just quickly pull up a video of the former Emir of Kano State, who actually made light of the story.
Saying a prayer to His Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa State. I pray that God unleash investors on your state the way He unleashed presidential aspirants on the APC.
Well, I didn't know he had such great sense of humor. We shall take our final story so we can discuss all. Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, the governor of Anambra State, over the weekend, visited the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, in detention. The governor took to Facebook to post pictures of himself and the IPOB leader, stating that the two discussed the sit-at-home protests and the killings in the southeast. The governor also stated that the IPOB leader expressed sadness over what he described as sacrilegious killings of innocent persons, kidnappings, and all forms of criminalities, including the brutal enforcement of the senseless sit-at-home perpetrated by sundry groups claiming to be acting on behalf of IPOB. Kanu assured Soludo that if given the opportunity, he will be glad to personally broadcast to his followers to maintain peace. Kanu is standing trial on 15-count charge, bordering on treasonable felony, 8 of which were recently struck out by the Federal High Court in Abuja. Refer your comment real quickly.
I mean, so if Nnamdi Kanu says it's not, and he condemns everything that is happening as regards to sit-at-homes in the East, it's obvious that the sit-at-home is being perpetrated by criminal gangs.
That's what he's saying.
So it's as simple as ABC.
That's what
so
he's
it's
saying.
got nothing to do with IPOB.
With
But I think
IPOB.
IPOB has come out many times to say that.
Yes.
So the question is, why can't we stop these criminal gangs? Are they bigger than the states? You see, that's the question I keep asking, because for me, the state I know, the state is supposed to have the monopoly of violence. I once worked with somebody that will always say, after God is government. That was his word. After God is government. So that's the idea of government I have. Powerful. To be able to set everything right. But if government cannot clamp down, the all-powerful after God, then government cannot clamp down on insecurity in the country, then you start to wonder what is happening.
Yes.
Good move, Charles Chukwuma Soludo. He said he was going to work as regards the insecurity in the Southeast. And he has started. And this is the best way to go about it.
I think so too.
They say a picture speaks 1,000 words. This is a very good picture. This is a man that wants to listen and try as much as possible to bring peace and development. Because if he brings peace and development to the Southeast region, then the region can grow.
Yes.
I always want the best for Nigeria. Because if Nigeria does well, it will shake the world. And that's what sometimes I think even external powers don't want Nigeria to do well.
Yes.
Because if it does well, it will shake the world. I hope this will be the beginning of peace in the Southeast. And I hope this will be the beginning of correcting the marginalization done against the Southeast. Because there's that issue on ground.
Yes.
And I hope this will be the beginning of peace all over the country.
Yes. I love the way that Nnamdi Kanu spoke in a peaceful manner, and I hope that they will be given an opportunity to speak to his group. Well, unfortunately, that's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you tomorrow.